Is he gone yet?
I'm fucking infamous. I'm one of the most notorious slashers in history, and I don't want to give that up. I am Chucky, the killer dog, and I dig it!
Nope. Still here.
Scream for your life!
To a new world of gods and monsters. You make man like me? No. Woman. Friend for you. Woman. Friend. Yes. I want friend.
Here I am slaving away over a hot stove, making cookies, making Swedish meatballs, and for what? For a man who doesn't appreciate me. For a man who can't even wash one fucking dish. For a man who isn't even a man at all where it counts, if you get my drift. Take it from me, honey. Plastic is no substitute for a nice hunk of wood.
Any guy would need a hunk of plastic, probably battery operated, to get a reaction out of you in bed. And by the way, where the hell did you learn to bail?
Stop! That's enough! That's enough!
Hello, Psycho Nation, and welcome to Scarifyer, your podcast for all things horror and pop culture. And we got a 2-for-1 special for you today. We are talking about Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. As always, I'm the Ace with
The Gov. And today we have our special guest for everything Chucky. We tried burying him and banishing him forever, but we forgot to retcon the amulet into the storyline. Jake, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Gov. I'm happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's always great to have you here, Jake, talking about Chucky, and it's going to be a great episode. But before we do that, for tradition's sake, we're going to go to the news. Ace, what do we got for the news?
All right, boys and girls, as always, our news comes from iHorror.com. So, starting off, the legend, the iconic, probably the greatest of all time, Steven Spielberg, coming back to horror. According to Entertainment Weekly, Steven Spielberg is in the middle of developing with Jeffrey Katzenberg of the QB streaming network a horror series that you can only watch in the dark.
Oh.
Huh.
Now, this is going to be really cool. What you do is you download the app, and the app will have an automatic timer on it, and you won't be able to watch the show until after sundown or after midnight.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, eat your heart out.
Yeah, so your show, being forced to watch these scary movies, they're going to be 10 to 12 episodes in the dark.
Wow. Is this original content? Or is it like...
As far as I know, yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, and as you
so
know,
it's a new show, but it's also an app.
Yes, the show is going to be called Spielberg After Dark.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, and you know, we all know Katzenberg co-founded DreamWorks.
Yep.
With Spielberg, so this is going to be some good shit.
Yeah, that's
or at least has the potential to be.
Yeah,
that's promising.
This may well have a good novelty to it, definitely.
And moving on, the 3 from Hell trailer has officially dropped. We have that on our Facebook page. Check that out. If you don't know, that's Rob Zombie's sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. Other trailers that dropped today, the Blair Witch video game trailer.
Which surprised everyone.
Surprised a lot of people because I don't know if a lot of people are quite ready for more Blair Witch, but we're getting it. And the game is a direct sequel/prequel to the original 1999 movie. And it will follow a man and his dog searching for a missing boy named Peter Shannon.
So a lot of running around in the woods.
A lot of running around in the woods searching for shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very Blair Witch-like. They always surprise people. I mean, anyone remember that movie that kind of bombed, but it came out a couple years ago, caught everyone by surprise?
Yeah, I think it was just called The Witch.
It was called Blair Witch.
Oh, just Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just Blair Witch, yeah.
I mean, I thought the original was the most stupid movie I've ever seen in my life. But hey, I did watch the trailer for this. The gameplay does look pretty darn cool. So, again, another trailer we'll have up on our Facebook page.
Nice.
And finally for today, Netflix has renewed Lucifer for a 5th and final season. If you don't know, Lucifer, very, very popular TV show on the Fox network based off the DC comic character of Lucifer. And it was canceled after 3 seasons. Netflix picked it up for a 4th season, showing 10 episodes. Season 5 will be the last and include 10 episodes as well.
Well, at least they didn't cancel it after only 1 episode.
Fuck you, DC.
All right, and before we get into our 2 movies for discussion today, just remind you that this is the continuing countdown to the Orion Child's Play remake set to hit theaters on June 21st. But just to let everyone out there on Psycho Nation know what we are doing today, once again, we're going to take a look at Bride and Seed of Chucky next Friday. You will hear our thoughts on Curse and Cult of Chucky. And then the following Monday, that would be June 24th, that is where you'll get the Scarifyer review of the Child's Play remake. So stick around with us as we continue this. And I don't know about anyone else, but I am frankly getting burnt out on Chucky, so I can't wait for this to be over.
I'm a fan, and I feel your pain a little bit. You know.
Well, you know what, though? Hey, we committed to it. We're sticking to our guns. Let's finish this thing strong.
Absolutely. And we're going to the 4th entry, Bride of Chucky. Before we get into that, here's that backstory. Inspired by the successful resurgence in horror films with the release of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, Don Mancini and David Kirshner decided the 4th film in the series needed a new direction as a satirical self-parody. Ronnie Yu was hired to direct the film after Kirshner and Mancini were impressed by his film The Bride with White Hair. Mancini claims to have decided to create the character of Tiffany after seeing a copy of Bride of Frankenstein in a video store. Jennifer Tilly was cast as the character largely due to her role in the debut Wachowski film Bound. Released October 16, 1998, Bride of Chucky got lucky, grossing $50.7 million on a $25 million budget.
The Internet Movie Database gave Bride of Chucky a 5.4 out of 10. Average.
Yep.
Rotten Tomatoes, 46. And Metacritic gave it a 48. So
better than the 3rd one, I think, at least.
a lot better than the 3rd.
Yeah.
In terms of score.
We're
In
hovering,
terms of pretty much everything.
hovering right around average.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Google users like it 82%.
Nice. So, yeah, a vastly more popular film amongst viewers, and also a surprise hit financially. Holy crap, $50 million. I don't think anyone expected that with a 4th entry in a slasher series.
Do you have opening thoughts on this, Gov?
Well, on the surface, this is a very different movie. Not only with title change, dropping the Child's Play moniker, and also switching gears on characters. They dropped the Barkley story completely with Andy or his mom and went with a whole different direction. They also went with a completely change of concept. We're looking more at a horror comedy than a straight-up horror film. So would you say with those kind of numbers and that kind of scoring, like it was in their, benefit to change the concept like this?
I think so because, again, what was it, 98, 99? 98.
So
it's
also a 10-year anniversary film, if you think about it.
It's a 10-year. It could be, but this is Scream era. Everything's satirical.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It was the right move, for sure.
Yeah, it was needed at the time.
Whether
definitely.
whether the hardcore fans like it or not,
right?
It's it's a product of its time, just like Halloween H2O.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what kind of made the franchise relevant again. It did get people talking to some degree.
I mean, a surprise hit. No one expected it to do what it did, but it was very popular, made a lot of money, and the main drive behind this was that tagline, Chucky gets lucky. And here we have Tiffany, a brand new character who became a very popular character in the series, played by Jennifer Tilly. What are our thoughts on Tiffany? She kind of became, you almost can't think of one without the other now.
She's it's interesting because I feel like, and maybe we'll get into a little bit as well beyond this, but she has kind of like a she has like a sense of like mercy. I feel like with her character, she's a brutal killer, but in the movie, but it's like one thing that differentiates her in this movie is I feel like especially when towards the end, I'm not sure we're going too spoilery, or maybe we will. The
movie is over 20 years old.
Yeah,
I don't think we have to worry about spoilers at this point.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Good point. But yeah, she.
If anyone's getting spoiled listening to this, you're not old enough to be listening to this podcast.
Yeah, it's. I feel like that there's, like I say, she unlike Chucky, her character is like I said, capable of like dialing it back, and then they kind of go in there, and then the other movie we're going to review with disastrous results. But it's like she's evil, but only to a point. But she's evil enough for Chucky to fall for her. Definitely, it's and that there's an interesting contrast there. I feel like, because it's like clearly Chucky's not going to change his ways, and they're not going to stop killing. But there's like they almost show us a noticeable like the softer side of how killers operate and shit at certain points in this, and that's clearly played for laughs, obviously. But it's when you think of it on a little bit of a deeper level, it makes you at least for me, it made me think a little bit. But that's just because I'm a super fan, I guess.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
All that I was going to say is it was a good move to bring her in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the right actor, the right character. It definitely put some life into the franchise that was not in a good spot after the third one.
Mm-hmm.
I really, being, a Universal monster guy, mixing in that element of the Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein, even using the imagery in her creation.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
If there's anything that I can say really I appreciated in this entire series, it was that.
Yeah.
I mean,
not over the whole series.
Oh, the whole series. Again, I'm not a big fan of this series.
Yeah.
But to incorporate something that I do love, the Universal monsters, and to do it so well and so cleverly,
Yeah.
to me was beautiful.
Strong amount of homage is paid.
I mean,
throughout
it's
these movies going forward.
It's certainly a smart move. I mean, if you're coming out with a movie called The Bride of Chucky and you're introducing a bride character, there's only one movie in the lexicon of cinema that did it right, and that was Bride of Frankenstein.
Sure. I mean, and they even wrote the title the same.
Yeah.
They use
with the cursive.
They use the same lettering in The Bride of.
Yeah.
As they did in the posters for all the Bride of Frankenstein. Brilliant. Sure.
And they also do this thing with referencing Scream 2 with because it came out around the same time, I think, or so, didn't it? Scream 2.
Well, it is the era of Scream, and
yeah,
we
so-
already talked about this. It's the product of Scream.
Yeah,
I mean,
so it blended those two things, like self-satirical with homaging Universal monster movies. That, like, even just in the front poster, like we were saying, just seamlessly, and it does blend well, definitely.
I mean, even down to the image of Chucky, with the stitched up face and the stitched up look of him and stuff, like a direct homage, and well done. You can tell that
They did some homework.
Yeah,
They put some thought into it.
Mancini and Kirshner were fans, and it shows.
And, it didn't help that Universal's backing it.
Actually, oh, sure. They can do it legally
They
now.
can do whatever they want with it.
You know what I mean? No red tape. There's also, in my opinion, I think a brave move to rest the movie on the shoulders of two animatronic characters, because essentially what we're looking at is a husband and wife road trip movie. It's kind of like Bonnie and Clyde for horror.
Yeah.
And
a
you know what I
puppet
mean?
show.
And it's one thing to have Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. Here you have two animatronic characters, and they literally carry the movie.
Sure.
So again, going to the homework that was done and how well the script is written, and then just the improving on effects,
Sure.
made the movie work.
Yeah.
Whether you're a fan, whether you're more of a traditionalist and you like the horror over the comedy or not, you got to admit that this movie was very well made.
Absolutely.
It is, yeah.
And again, not only fantastic performance by Jennifer Tilly, but Brad Dourif, once again,
Hitting a home run.
knocking it right out of the park.
Yep.
Absolutely. No one can do it better than Brad Dourif. And even the fact that he had to change his game up a little bit and be a little bit more humorous than he was before. He didn't miss a beat.
No, not at all.
Didn't skip a note.
All while changing his beats to some degree, but it
Even
worked.
while they're retconning the story. This is probably the single biggest issue I have with the movie. Whether the movie is scary or not, whether the movie's funny or not, I can enjoy it to a degree. But I
Likewise.
can't overlook this ridiculous retconning of the first film by saying that Charles Lee Ray was buried with an amulet. And that's the whole reason why he can transfer his soul out of a body into a doll.
and that he had an amulet when he was gunned down.
Which
yeah.
anyone who's seen the first movie, he did not.
He did not. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, retconning it by showing a picture that's in Tiffany's trailer of Brad Dourif, like on the
From the first movie, but with an obviously added Photoshop.
They airbrushed or photoshopped this amulet around his neck, and I'm just like, when, why, and how? It's obviously a MacGuffin device. It's like we want to do a road trip movie, so where are they going and why? Well, they need this thing. Okay, so just add it into the story.
And that's where you fall into some issue clearly, obviously, because they're even acknowledged that this is a sequel to the third one, even though they are retconning it, because she's stitching him back together because he gets chopped up in a fan.
Well, sure, she got the body from a police evidence locker, which I can only assume is at the same facility that Andy's being held at.
Right.
Probably.
His life's a disappointment. But
Well, fuck it. Just in closing of that topic, it's Don Mancini's baby. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it.
I mean, I guess so, but again, I understand it's a MacGuffin device. It's literally there just to get the movie moving and keep it moving.
I mean, overall, do you think the kills, as first comedic as this movie is, do you think the kills stack up well in the totality of the series?
I think it has some creative kills in it, sure.
Double down on the gore, definitely.
Absolutely. They did step up their game with that. It's always great to start off your movie with, the Lakeshore Strangler suffocating someone. In this case, Alexis Arquette, not Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, exactly.
And my favorite kill of the film, hands down, is John Ritter's death.
Oh yeah.
Not so much the stabbing, which ultimately kills him, but prior to that, with the nails impaling his face.
They get flown into him via airbag, I guess. Getting shot at, getting malfunctioned. Via Chucky and Tiffany.
Very creative way to do somebody in, I thought. I like the hotel scene with the couple that's conning them and steals from Jesse and Jade, and they meet their end via shards of glass falling on top of them, which is something we actually revisit in Cult of Chucky.
Yes,
so that was a good throwback in that film. So yeah, overall, I felt like the kills were well done, well handled, and they did step up their game, being a late '90s horror film.
Well, we got a second movie to talk about today, so let's wrap Bride of Chucky up, and how about we rate this? Gov?
All right, so on the scale of 1 to 5, Bride of Chucky, for the Gov, I'm going to say it sits comfortably at a 3.5. I do enjoy this movie. I don't know necessarily to give it a 4. It's nothing you can really watch repeatedly. Every now and then it's a good film to kind of revisit.
Especially around Halloween.
For fans our age, this was the first movie to introduce Chucky to us. As I pointed out in our first episode, this is what got me into the franchise, was the release of this film in '98. Besides retconning with the amulet, it was well written, well directed. The kills were great. I like the tension between the Jesse and Jade character while they're suspecting each other for doing the killings. I thought that was really well handled, while really the killers are sitting right behind them in the form of two dolls.
Me too, definitely.
The climax was really well done in the cemetery. Overall, like, everything about it is well done. So yeah, for the Gov's money, 3.5. Jake?
Yeah, for me, I'm a little surprised. I have it slightly lower, but it's still a solid score of 3 stars. It entertainingly it reinvented itself as a franchise, and as we stated, successfully introduced and added a new character, Tiffany. It still made still made Chucky fun to watch without killing his character's integrity. I mean, like I said, there's some issues with the writing. It can be a little thin in terms of, and even basic. Like I was saying, it's almost like I say, kind of paper thin. But sometimes less is more, and in this case, less is more was done in a very good way. It's definitely a fun movie to revisit every once in a while, and I'm glad we did. So 3 stars for me.
That leaves you, Ace.
I'll give it a generous 3.
Okay.
I appreciated that it was a fresh take on the character and not the same movie that we've gotten 3 times before.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy Jennifer Tilly's character.
Mm-hmm.
I very much enjoy Brad Dourif's character. And like I praised earlier, the classic monster reference sold most of the movie for me. It was a breath of fresh air for the franchise, so I give it a solid 3.
And a great soundtrack.
Oh, heck yeah.
Fantastic soundtrack. If anything, that gives 1 star just to the soundtrack of the 3.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, where there was the bride, there is also the sun.
Let's ride till the wheels fall off.
Oops, I did it again.
What the hell was that?
Production on a new film called Son of Chucky began October 18th, 1998, just 2 days after the successful release of Bride of Chucky. Director Ronnie Yu was unable to return due to scheduling conflicts. Don Mancini, who is a homosexual and was interested in exploring LGBT-related themes in the next film, decided to write a screenplay inspired by the 1953 cult classic Glenn or Glenda, in which Chucky's son is an innocent person suffering from gender dysphoria. He also decided to double down on the shift in the series towards comedy. Universal Pictures, which produced the previous 3 films, had expected a more conventional slasher film with the son being a murderous villain. They rejected Mancini's script with the note, "This is too gay." Production ultimately resumed when the project was approved by Focus Features after the successful release of Cabin Fever in 2003, and ultimately released through Rogue Pictures. Released November 12, 2004 at the number 4 spot in the box office, Seed of Chucky, though a financial success grossing $24.8 million on a $12 million budget, marked an all-time low in quality and successfully alienating Chucky's fans for nearly a decade.
And the rating numbers, not as generous as they were with Bride of Chucky.
Oh, do tell.
The Internet Movie Database gave it a 4.9 out of 10, so less than average. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 33%. Pretty terrible.
Yep.
And Metacritic gives 46%, less than average. And all the people in Google land, only 78% people like this movie.
Even all those numbers are a little too generous, personally. But
so we go from the brilliance of James Whale to Ed Wood.
That's all you really need to know about this film.
And with that, I rank it a number 1.
And that's all you have to say
That's
about
all I got to say. You two go for it.
this movie made my head hurt. Go ahead. Sorry.
I you know what? Here's the thing. As high as I ranked Bride of Chucky.
And just let me add, the 1 only goes to Brad Dourif and Tilly. That's it. That's it. The fact that they actually agreed to do it earned them a 1.
Well, I'll give you my thoughts on Tilly in a moment, but so you would say like a 0.5 for both actors?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. So anyway, what I was saying with Bride of Chucky, and I ranked it high because I did think that it was a breath of fresh air for the franchise. Here's the thing. I compare Bride of Chucky and this film, Seed of Chucky, almost to, for all you classic Batman fans, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Batman Forever was a fresh of breath air. Whether you liked it or not, that's subjective. A lot of people like the darker tones. A lot of people thought it was too dark, say, in Batman Returns. So they switched it up. A new vibe, a fresh feel, a brighter look. That's how I felt they did with Bride of Chucky. Does not mean you have to double down on it for the next installment. That's almost the last thing you want to do.
Please, show some mercy. Mercy?
Fair comparison.
They didn't double down on me because if you're going to double down, you went James Whale, Bride of Frankenstein. I go James Whale, Invisible Man. If you're going to double down, you went James Whale to fucking Ed Wood.
Yeah, no. I'm
James Whale to fucking Ed Wood. It's not even in the same
Universe.
3 leagues.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the concept of a slasher villain having an offspring sucked ass when Freddy tried it in Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Why the hell did they think it was going to work here?
Well, I mean, again, going back to comparing it to the Universal Monsters, it's the natural progression. You go from bride to son. I get it, and everyone was expecting it after the, curtain jerk ending of Bride of Chucky.
The doll pisses himself.
Yeah.
I know. They ultimately gave us a movie we were not expecting, and as I said in the background of the movie, it definitely had an agenda. Mancini had an agenda, and he wanted to explore certain progressive themes that we see now more days, and I think ultimately that's why those scores were as high as they were.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little bit more relevant to today's society than it was in, say, 2004.
I suppose. I mean,
But would you say this was a social justice misfire? Because I think it was.
Oh, it definitely was. When you think of Chucky, you don't think the rainbow flag. You think slitting throats and stabbing and shit. It's like it just gender identity issues and Chucky just don't mix. There's no way around it.
Here's what they did wrong, is they meshed the two wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, in horror movies, you do see political statements. I'll use the example of Night of the Living Dead. Clearly, that there is some racial undertones there.
Oh, yeah.
However, you see that if you're looking for it, and it can satisfy you, but it's also masked by the horror aspect. So if you're not looking for it, if you're looking for a good old-fashioned just creep you out, you got that as well. Mm-hmm. This movie just gave you one.
Right.
They didn't mesh the two well enough to where the average horror fan who just wants to go and have a good time and not think about serious social issues and watch a good scary movie. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that. They very much, you can make an argument like A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Sure.
It had its message, but failed giving just that generic horror fan, the guy who doesn't want to hear what's on the news. And forget about problems for an hour and a half.
Well, again, these sort of things, these social issues in horror films are fine.
And I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying they didn't do it right.
No,
they didn't do it well.
And ultimately, I'm agreeing with you because, jumping back on Nightmare, Wes Craven was a maestro at this. Mm-hmm. He could do it in his sleep, literally. And it's supposed to be subtext, though.
Yeah, subtlety. They should try it.
Yeah, it's
subtlety. They should try it.
It's not supposed to be blatant and up in your face, like they ultimately went in Seed of Chucky. And also, keep in mind, social issues as subtext in a horror film are fine. This is a comedy.
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a comedy with some gore scenes in it.
It's a mess, like I keep saying. Go ahead.
I mean, social issues aside, and I want to get off it because this is not a political show, but I
No, it's
will
not.
say for the record that a script being rejected because it's too gay, Universal, is wrong. It was wrong then, it's wrong now. But this movie was just, from the get-go, from the early trailers, you knew there was something wrong with this movie. You don't know what they were trying to accomplish, even though they clearly had an agenda. I mean, I remember the big controversy that Britney Spears was threatening to sue Focus Features unless they put a caption saying that is not me in the film, because there's a scene where Chucky supposedly kills Britney Spears, but it's a Britney Spears lookalike,
Right.
and they had to caption in the film, "This is not Britney Spears."
One of many times the comedy just takes a big fat dive right onto its face. It just every joke in this movie just falls flat for me. I get where they're trying to be funny, but it doesn't land. I mean, they turn Chucky into like a bad sitcom dad, and he doesn't feel like the same character anymore. The title character of this franchise is just reduced to being worse than self-parody. I mean, it's like it's amazing this franchise recovered with how awful the execution of his overall is. But
I agree.
I think Universal could have just sent this, put a sticky note on the script and said this thing sucks, and not pissed off an entire social movement.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that would have sufficed. Sure.
Because it was telling the truth.
Yeah.
So
this, though a lot of things this movie tries to do and fails miserably, we are given a sort of meta concept with them blurring the lines of reality and fantasy by making Jennifer Tilly an actual character in this film. She plays
herself.
She plays herself in a sort of fictionalized version of, I guess, reality, where she's an actress, a struggling actress, and she's trying to get a part as the Virgin Mary, directed by rapper Redman, which was a role, I guess, originally designed for Quentin Tarantino, who wisely said, "Go fuck yourself."
yeah.
And apparently the next obvious step was rapper Redman, because somebody saw Halloween Resurrection and thought Busta Rhymes was great.
I'm playing Michael Myers.
I guess.
Ultimately, another failed concept, because where going back to Nightmare, Wes Craven's new Nightmare was very smart about it.
Right.
This one just falls on its face in the worst possible way.
you can't outdo Wes Craven.
No, you can't.
That's very true. I mean,
You
and they try. I mean, just the plot alone of Jennifer Tilly is playing Tiffany in a movie version of the Chucky doll murders.
again, here we are. It's a movie. We're still in Scream era. We're still in Meta era. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just.
This is where it's wearing thin. Yeah, definitely.
This is the absolute downcline of, unfortunately, horror in general this time period.
Yeah, I mean,
Because after this, that's when we jump headfirst into the remakes. And some of them were good. The beginning ones were good, but they derailed.
Yeah.
Around this time, and not long after this, you end up getting like the Amityville horror remake, and I don't think that had much better results than this.
And then you got our title character, or supposedly title character, Glenn or Glenda, Chucky's son/daughter, a universally hated character.
Yep.
So much so that in the later movies, the next two, I guess Mancini was given strict instructions to never incorporate nor mention the character Glenn or Glenda.
Probably for the better.
Smart.
Pretty
Definitely
much.
smart.
It's
self-preserving. I get it. Mancini wanted to explore these themes, transgender themes, and it's all over the movies. There's the line where he says, "Some days I feel like a boy, other days I feel like a woman." And then making the boy a very innocent, sweet, meek character who pisses himself, and that's a running joke in the movie for some reason.
I guess they like Garbage Pail Kids.
That's really what it reminded me of.
It is, I know.
And then you got his female side that they explore fully toward the end, with Glenda being the psychotic half of Chucky. So I think they were going for, like, the boy side is Tiffany, the sweet, nurturing, even though she's dangerous.
Yeah.
And then the girl side is Chucky, the savage killer, insane being. Here's the thing. It doesn't come off as somebody struggling with their gender. It comes off more as somebody who's schizophrenic. And I think that's way more interesting.
Yeah, if they had touched more on those themes,
I feel like if they embraced that fully,
If they went Hitchcock,
exactly,
but
exactly,
they didn't.
No,
They went Ed Wood.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
And there was no Bela Lugosi to kind of make everybody happy. You know, like he shows up in it one or two.
You followed the wrong filmmaker with this one, and you just so wrapping this up. I don't think it's any big secret how we feel about the 5th entry into the Child's Play series. So nothing left to do but rank it 1 out of 5. Let's go to Jake first this time.
To paraphrase this movie, I can't think of a thing positive to say about it. Fuck it. 0 stars. Everything Bride got right about mixing dark comedy and horror and and black comedy and blood and guts together and all while doing social reference. Pop culture references. All that type of thing. Seed painfully gets wrong. It just. I get what they were trying to, what Don Mancini was going for to a point, but you got to know your target audience. So 0 stars for me. I'm sorry.
Gov?
Goose egg.
Come on. You didn't like the Look Who's Talking intro? I thought that would have at least gotten a star from you.
No, not at all. Actually, I knew I was in trouble from the opening credits by the Look Who's Talking sequence. I mean, and I can't give. I had to turn the movie off after just the opening credits. I couldn't sit through it. I couldn't get through it. I've seen this movie all of once, and all the way through, and that's where it's gonna remain with me. Misinterpreted social issues, an agenda that fails. 0. I can't do it.
Well, as I said at the beginning of the topic, I give it 1 star. A half a star goes to Tilly, a half a star goes to Duroff because they got paid to do this.
Okay.
They actually got money to do this.
Well, you can't argue with that, but I can say they're better than this. So
they're way better than
I'm
this.
not going to
but
warrant
I'm
that.
sure they got paid handsomely for it, and I applaud them for that.
Nothing against the 2 actors,
No.
but I will not reward the film just because they're in it, collecting a paycheck.
But, just like all horror franchises with many, many sequels, not all of them are going to be knockouts, and this one clearly isn't. So,
Well, I mean, you're talking about a film that, came on strongly with its predecessor, but ultimately, because of the decisions that were made on the filmmakers, it warranted a near-decade hiatus. So the son of Chucky is ultimately a bad seed.
So with all that, closing this bitch up for the week, don't forget to listen to us next Friday as we get ever so closer to the finale of our retrospect review of the entire Child's Play franchise as we review The Cult and The Curse of Chucky. And to give you a more professional update, as everybody knows, and I'm hoping very soon I'm not going to have to remind everybody every episode, but because it's still fairly new, Pods and Monsters, at least for this group, is no more. We are now Scarifyer. We now have an official Twitter page. So make sure you go follow us on Twitter, like us on Instagram.
All our accounts so far have been changed over. That includes SoundCloud, is no longer Pods and Monsters on SoundCloud, is Scarifyer on SoundCloud. And so far, all these social media outlets are playing ball with us, except for one.
Facebook is being extremely difficult with us. We have appealed for a name change 3 times by them, and twice we have been denied the request. One is still pending. So the Gov and I have made an executive decision on this. If the name on the Facebook page has not changed by midnight this Friday, so midnight tonight as you're listening to this show, Saturday morning, this Facebook page will close, and we will be offering a new Facebook account, the official Scarifyer Facebook account. We will try to make sure we get an inventory of everybody who has liked the page and try to re-invite them, but there's no guarantee if we're going to get every single person in that group.
All of you guys are very important to us. We don't want to lose any of you. Like I said, we will try to find you if ultimately we do have to close our current Facebook page and create a new one. We will try our best to find you. Our fans are very important to us. We do the show for you guys because we are one of you guys. So it's very important. Keep track of us. Keep tabs on us. See what's going on. Everyone's been great during this brand change. We're moving right along, and things are going fairly smoothly, except for this little bump in the road that is Facebook.
And you know what? To be honest, we like the new name better, and
Yeah.
you guys like the new name better.
Yeah.
All the feedback I've gotten,
And the
from,
best part is we own it.
we own it. We own the name. You know, this is Scarifyer. You are Scarifyer if you follow this show. If you follow us, it's very simple, guys. Everything now is Scarifyer. The Gmail address, scarifyer@gmail.com. That, you know, you want to email us, you want to give us your suggestions, that's where you're going. Instagram, Scarifyer. Twitter, Scarifyer. We're just holding out on the Facebook, and that is going to be, one way or another, will be changed this weekend.
As always, continue to like, share, and subscribe.
To give you guys a heads up of what's coming up for the future, this weekend, for the 30th anniversary, the Gov and I are going to be doing a very special watch-along of Ghostbusters 2 30th anniversary. Next Friday, Curse and Cult of Chucky. That weekend, the three of us, Ace, Gov, and Jake, we're going to go see the new Child's Play remake by Orion, and then we're going to do a special review for it that will be released that Monday. And then we are officially done with Child's Play for a good long time.
Yes!
Horror fans, get ready. We got some really good shit coming for you. So for the Gov and the Ace, this is Scarifyer. Listen next week.
What would Martha Stewart say?
Fuck Martha Stewart! Martha Stewart can kiss my shiny plastic butt!